you going to beat Clarence by?
That's a good question again. Geez, we're getting some good questions over here every Thursday. You let me know that, and I'll let the boys know. I'll pass it on. So you can answer that.
Got any significant changes to
as I said after the game last week, I've got to stick to the current group. So there's no point bringing guys in for one game and then sending them back to D-League. So as I said previously, we're on a learning curve together, and we're in this together. So I'm going to keep giving games to the young guys, give them some exposure at senior level.
Have you done any special preparation to meet a team like Clarence with a young group?
Well, I think the performance on the weekend last week was poor, so we went back to basics on Tuesday night. There's a lot of competitive stuff, a bit of gut running, so to speak, from the group, which some of the young guys haven't really experienced that. So we trained really solidly for nearly 2 hours on Tuesday night. And the boys walked off spent, but mentally just showed how much work has to be done to be competitive at this level. So hopefully have another good night tonight, and then we can take it into the game on Saturday.
You mentioned a little spent then, mate, how tough was it mentally on that young group, coming up against those bigger bodies and getting that half reality check?
It was tough. I mean, I coached from the bench in the last quarter, and there was times where you just wanted to go and put your arm around some of them because physically they're not quite up to being senior footballers yet. But young guys, they recover really well, and like you wouldn't know on Monday night when they walked in for the review that we'd had such a comprehensive beating. Just in the last quarter last week, I sent a couple of guys in the midfield to play on their good midfield types who have been good players for many years, just to give them some exposure on what it takes to be a good TSL senior player. So that's just another learning experience that they'll take into the game this weekend.
So you'll keep playing blokes unless they're injured then pretty much? You won't make changes?
No, eventually we will have to make some changes. You can't just keep rolling with the same 22. We've got young guys in the development league that have started to put their hand up a bit, but I can't be bringing players in that have just played one good game. I need to see them put 3 or 4 consistent games together, because there's no point bringing someone in that's not quite ready to play senior footy. So as the season goes on, there will be changes made.
Obviously it's going to be a tough year, but how do you as a coach stop onslaughts like we had on the weekend and points margins like that, I suppose?
There'll be times in games where I put players in positions so they use it as a learning experience. Obviously, like the last quarter, I think they kicked 60 points and we didn't score, so that was very disappointing. We've just got to show them the vision that what they've done right and what they obviously haven't done right, and then just make sure that we can keep improving on that. So there's going to be times where we do have waves of scoring from the opposition, but we've just got to try and eliminate the amount they score in that time.
I don't know, actually last week how many games you win, but do you think you have the cattle to win a game this year?
Absolutely we do. Yeah, and as I said, we'll get better as the year goes on. I don't think the general public understands how much talent we have in our current group from the 18s to the 16s. I mean, it's evident with how many guys we have in the academy squad. So it's just, I mean, you can see the improvement. Like someone like Tom Reeves, for instance, hadn't played senior football at all till this year, and he's been our best player the first 2 weeks. So he's obviously in the academy program, and then we think we have a good program at our own club and provide a good environment where they can learn. And I just think you'll see, I use Baxter Norton as another example, someone 2 years ago that probably wasn't up to being a good senior footballer, and as he's now, he's a top age mariner, but when he comes back to the side, he'd be a classy on baller in this league.
How do you view North Hobart as an opponent this weekend? Are they considered easy beats in the competition?
I wouldn't say easy beats. I think they've got a lot of talent, like Bear just touched on before. It's just extremely young. Like you look through their list and there's half a dozen 16-year-olds, and then the majority of the list is under 18. So it probably doesn't matter how much talent they have. It's just that their bodies aren't ready to play probably top line TSL footy yet. Does that mean that they're not going to be competitive? Well, of course they will be. If you watch the first 15-20 minutes of the Launceston game, the ball was actually locked in their end. Just over a period of time and late in quarters, I suppose their lighter bodies, run out of a bit of steam. So we need to make sure that we've got the pressure on them for the first half, especially early on in the game. I think young guys, if you give them a quarter, they'll be around for 2. If you give them 2, they'll be around for 3. So it's really about getting off to a good start. And for us, we've got a big month ahead. We've got North Launceston, the Tigers, and then Glenorchy. So we need to make sure that off the bye and North Hobart that we play really well this weekend.
You've got to be careful coming off the bye, don't you, sometimes?
Yeah, I think you do. It's sort of like a round one clash again, isn't it, for us? Look, I think the bye was beneficial in terms of, I do believe that you pull up Sora after the round one games. So they've had a week off. We had a lot of week last week and done some extra work this week. So yeah, we'll be going into the game ready to go and making sure we put in four strong quarters.
Will the first time you'll be on Blunston be next Saturday?
Monday night, I think we're back on next Monday night. So we'll train there. Won't train on Monday night, but we'll train Tuesday, Thursday there. We've been at Clarence High the last 2 weeks, but we can't get on there till 6:30 at night. So it's been problematic to say the least.
Changes for this week?
Trent Standard will miss. He's got a sore Achilles. He's only played a half down at Lauderdale, so he won't play. Jackson O'Brien will come in if he gets through training tonight.
Jacko,
Massive test you guys face this weekend. What's been the talk amongst the group leading up to this match?
I think we've just been focusing on the specifics, what North Launceston do, what we do, how you mix in those two things to come up with a winning formula. Obviously they put a lot of heat on the opposition, they really ask a lot of questions with the way they move the footy, the way they attack the footy, and they're very organised to defend counter-attack. So, they've asked a lot of questions. So far they haven't had a lot of answers back, but we've got some stuff in place. We're confident, but we'll see. We'll see where we're at on Saturday.
Did the group surprise you against Lauderdale?
No, not at all. I've said it quite a bit. Coming out of Coburg in the VFL, looking at probably the top half of my list, I don't feel like I've stepped back a level. I've been really impressed with their professionalism, how quickly they pick things up, and their level of skill as well. So I've been expecting high things from the guys the whole time. It was just nice to see that I wasn't making things up and having a little bit of fantasy about the level they're at. It was nice to see that they could play such good footy, but the key now is to keep doing it week in, week out, and obviously this week doing it against a really good team.
It was said yesterday on the podcast, I mean, when you kick 22 goals, I think it was, and Jerry only got 2 of them, that must be pretty pleasing. You had that even spread as well. Yeah,
it's great, and I was chatting to Jay about that the other night as well. He was really happy about that too. He's someone who just really wants team success, and I think the thing with Jay that really surprised me, like a lot of people have talked to me about Jay Bowden over the last 2 or 3 years, no one's ever mentioned just how hard he works. Like watching him out in the field, his work rate both ways was just exceptional. And when you have players like him and Reece Mott, Braden Webb, a whole heap of other guys, like we really pride ourselves on our two-way running. And when our most experienced players set the example, that's a great thing for us.
Mitch Walker, he said the other day that you almost had to be convinced to play him last week. I'm pretty sure you're glad you did.
Yeah, I am glad. And, it's one of those where he hadn't played in any of the practice games and he had just a little foot issue. It wasn't a major thing, but it just needed some rest, more as a precaution, so it didn't, build into something bigger. And, my view was, my game plan demands a lot of the players, so I wanted guys who could run out 4 quarters, and so my feeling was, well, let's give him 1 week to run out 4 quarters in development. The assistant coaches were like, no, let's play him. So I was outvoted 3-1, so I went with it, and Mitch looked great. We knew he would, and the good thing is he'll get better. He dropped a lot of marks early on that he would normally just swallow up. I think he's a great natural old school forward. He leads at the footy really well and he draws the ball, and he's a great guy to have on the end of some of the guys we have running through the midfield.
I'm not sure if you saw the presser with him the other day. He was pretty refreshingly honest about.
Honest.
Yeah, what did you make of that?
Oh look, I don't mind blokes being honest, and he wasn't. What he says, it's what you get, and some people at another club may take some offence to that, but that's just how he felt. Now the onus is on him to back it up when he comes out to play every week, and he works really hard on the track. He's doing extras, so I've got confidence he's going to be able to keep producing some good footy.
Mention things you've got in place to counter their run and their questions that they ask, the pressure.
I'm not going to tell you.
Are these things that are already in your game style, or are these things that you've formulated just for this week?
Yeah, no, I mean, everything we do is built around our overall game style. It's just which parts of it we emphasise certain weeks. So there's nothing that we're trying to pull out that's completely new that the guys have never seen, but it's more identifying, you know, and you guys have watched North Lonnie play, they put a lot of heat going forward. You know, they really test out your ability to tackle, your ability to chase from behind, your ability to win one-on-ones. And, you know, we just have to be really good at countering those areas, because when you drop away, they just put goals on the board really quickly because their work rate is so high, their talent is good and their physicality is really good.
Has it been a dilemma trying to work out where to actually focus that emphasis that you call it this week against a team that's got so many prongs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, what North Launceston do it's not like it's really complex. It's very effective, but it's reasonably, you know, it's not overly complicated what they do. They just do it really well. They're all on the same page, and that's what good football teams do. You know, even up at AFL level, I think perhaps some supporters would think that the game plans are a little more complicated than what they actually are. It's really about getting players on the same page, all doing predictable things, and that's when a game plan works really well. And North Lonnie do that as well as any team going around, you know, in any competition, I think.
You have the big field to match the moment.
Yeah.
Do you expect Cox Goodyear to come back in? It seems like it was the precaution that he missed last week.
Yeah, listening to Tyler speak, he suggested he'd come back in, so we expect he will be. I mean, I sort of embrace playing against the best teams and the best players, and my guys do too. You know, like last year, even though we didn't have our best year, we only lost by 4 points up there at North Lonnie. It was a really good game of football. So our guys go up there, you know, full of confidence that it's going to be a really good game. I'm sure North Lonnie are preparing, knowing it'll be a really good game of footy, and I think it's great it's on the live stream, because it's just going to be a great advertisement for TSL footy.
Yeah, and a lot of the boys, I mean, North Lonnie's only lost a handful of games up there the last 3 or 4 years, but one of those was the grand final, I suppose, against you guys. So do you use that at all? I know you weren't there for it, but do you go back to that at any stage?
I don't really. As I've said before, I don't have to talk a lot with the players about sort of their expectation or their self-belief, because they have that. And I think we'll only have 8 or 9 of that premiership team in the side this week, but the cultures that's there, that sort of gets passed on to the other guys. So it's good for me that I don't really have to touch on it. I just really focus on what we need to do, what the opposition does, and the players carry that self-belief for themselves.
Changes at all, or?
Oh, there won't be, there might be a couple of forced changes. We just got to see what happens tonight with training. But again, our key players are fit and ready to go.
Who are the ones that are?
Oh, just a couple of our young guys, you know, whether they pulled up okay, you know, we'll wait and see. Jack Stevenson just got a bit of a knock on his elbow, so he's probably the one that we're most, you know, we're waiting on. He'll be 50-50.
It's not an ideal start of the season. Is it panic stations yet at Lauderdale?
No, it's definitely not panic stations. Last year, if you can remember, we started 0-3 and we were having the exact same conversation as we're having now. And we ended up playing off in the grand final later in the year. So we're definitely not panicking. It is a little bit different to last year, I guess, with the injuries starting to mount up. But that just gives our younger boys a bit of an opportunity to step up and play some senior footy, and I think that's good for the club.
What's lacking, I suppose? I mean, if Bryce goes down with a heavy injury, he brought a lot of the on-field leadership. Is that what's part of what's lacking for you guys at the moment?
I think just a bit of leadership across the board. So we've lost Bryce, obviously the skipper, who's the main leader in the midfield. Boscott with a broken foot, he's our main leader in the forward line. So we're down a couple of leaders, which brings in a few younger kids that probably aren't very good with their voice and instruction, I guess. So it sort of forces the rest of us leaders to move into different positions to sort of try and fill those holes. And then we're not sort of getting replaced in different areas, I guess. So I think a little bit of spread, like our spread hasn't been great either, especially defensive on the weekend. Glenorchy smashed us. and we're always 5-10 metres behind them. So yeah, a little bit of effort and spread on the weekend was a bit of a concern, but that's easy to fix.
Will that be the talk from Flint, do you think, this week and Windy is to get those younger, inexperienced players to be a bit more vocal on the field and really step up?
Yeah, I think that the younger boys just need to feel comfortable in playing senior footy. I think getting brought in with obviously the NT boys down, who've been down here for about 3 or 4 weeks now, so they're still starting to try and get comfortable in the environment. They're not used to sort of, I guess, the strategy sort of stuff up in the NTFL. It's a lot of one-on-one stuff up there, whereas down here, a lot of teams play zone defence and you end up having 2-on-1s, especially the boys up forward. So they've got to get used to, I guess, being outnumbered in the forward line and just having to sort of battle through that and try and win those one-on-ones and even draw it, so we can sort of get a stoppage up forward, that sort of stuff that they're not really used to, I guess, playing in the NT. So yeah, that's where we're at there.
Monty's going to be another big test for you, mate.
Yeah, they're a good side, aren't they? They were a good side last year, probably underachieved in the regular season last year. Ended up just sneaking in on percentage and then went to the prelim and nearly knocked us off over here at Bellerive. So with the additions of Mitch Thorpe and Dylan Riley and then Joby Harper coming over, I'm not sure if he'll play this week, but they do look pretty scary across the board, I guess. But we believe if we can play our game like we have the whole time, we can beat any side on their day. We just have to bring that effort that we didn't probably bring last week and get back to the Lauderdale way to play, that contested sort of brand. We're down 50 tackles from round 1 against Clarence on the weekend and only had 3 tackles in the third quarter, so that basically tells you that effort wasn't there on the weekend.
Was it a mental thing more than anything after the week you had with Jordan and obviously Windy's not there, there's all sorts of injuries, so there's all sorts of things happening, isn't there, at the club, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess last week was tough losing the skipper, firstly. I guess any team that loses their skipper for a long period of time, it does hurt you a little bit, especially Walshy. Walshy's been playing since 2010 senior footy, and there hasn't been many Lauderdale senior sides that haven't had Bryce Walsh starting in the midfield. So we're going to have to get used to that for a period of time. But yeah, apart from that, like, it's not really going to change much.
And you've got an update on Scotty Hill?
Yeah, Scotty dislocated his knee on Saturday in the first quarter, so there's another one added to our sort of long-term injury list. I think he's still waiting to get an MRI. The swelling's got to go down first, so we're not really sure if there's any structural damage, but if it's just a dislocated knee, it's normally around about 6 weeks, I think. That's probably our best case scenario with Scotty.